The landscape of TNA has changed overnight. Lots and lots have happened. We're going to get into Under Siege as well. But my goodness me, what is happening in the world of TNA wrestling? But first, before we get into all that, let's talk Under Siege, which happened on Friday. This is Monday at the time of recording. Obviously, with TNA, with NXT Championship being on the line at Battleground, with the TNA Championship being on the on the line at Battleground, it was best to wait before doing this so that we could review, give thoughts on everything. And when I mean everything, I mean everything. Right. Anyway, let's get started. First things first, Under Siege. Now, first match on that, we had the Robert Stone Santino Moretta kicking off on the road to Under Siege, so to speak. The pre-show, which was quite hilarious. But, but, Rosemary, Zaya Brookside kicked off the show. And what a great way to kick off the show. We was wondering on the TNA review whether Zaya Brookside would show her dark side, so to speak, in this. And I tell you what, the answer to that was a resounding yes. I think if you remember, I said that Rosemary would probably win this by DQ because Zaya Brookside would go nuts. And eventually, after a little bit of thinking about it, she absolutely did. Rosemary did try and pull out a staple gun and a belt, and Rosemary got her hands on the belt, and she goes completely nuts, whipping the hell out of Rosemary with the belt, and eventually after the end of it, she sort of looked around to say she looked at the carnage that she had caused, and the crowd were loving it. The crowd at Under Siege were all over it in Canada. They really wanted. They were really happy for this moment from Zaya, and they were chanting one more time. So she obliged, of course, one more time, smacking Rose really well, more than one more time, shall we say, with the belt. What happens from there? Well, they did do some tapings, and we'll find out. But I think I was right in where they're going with it as well, which is going to be even better if it is true that they do some kind of Clockwork House of Fun match or something along those lines. Hopefully they do. I think that's where they're going. I hope that's where they're going. I know they've done the tapings, so that'll be interesting to watch in the coming weeks. Now, Mike Santana against Casey Navarro was next, and that was another real fun match. We always go on this show about how Casey Navarro is an absolute, what can we say, one to watch, maybe definitely a future star in the business, and he was really going up against the blue chipper, as I call him, Mike Santana, in another great match. Obviously, AJ Francis was going to get involved, and he did during this match. I always say about interference in TNA, there's too much of it, and yeah, there was here, that's for sure. But Navarro didn't seem to like the fact that AJ Francis attacked him. That was one of the things I would say because this was after the match, to be honest. So Santana wins, obviously, spin the block for the win. Santana was celebrating. AJ Francis, so he helped Navarro up. They were going to do a show of respect. AJ Francis attacked Mike Santana after that. Navarro didn't really seem to be into it, but Francis then grabs Navarro's hand and raises it with his own, soaking up the boos from the crowd, which they certainly did. But Mike Santana with a win. And like I said, I thought that was going to be the case, to be honest with you. Mike Santana really can't be, if they're going where we think we're going, they're going with them, which is Mike Santana to be heavyweight champion of TNA. You can't be picking up these kind of defeats at these shows. But it's not over for Mike Santana, by the way. We're going to talk a bit more about him later on in the show with the earth-shattering ending that has not long just occurred. So we'll talk about that in a bit more detail. But next on the list, Cody Deaner. I was going to say Cody Rhodes. Cody Deaner and Eddie Edwards went at it at Under Siege. Now, if you remember, the stipulation in this one was if Cody Deaner wasn't successful, that would be his last match in TNA, or at least his contract wouldn't be renewed. He was going against Eddie Edwards of the System, with, of course, accompanied by Alicia Edwards. And again, this was a really sort of underdog match for Cody. He was always fighting underneath. It was every time he was getting momentum, he was being cut off from Eddie Edwards. So he was always fighting from beneath Cody. And it was really like trying to be like the hero, the super comic book hero that was in trouble and then battled his way back. And then you was thinking that Cody Deaner was going to pick up the victory. Now, in my predictions, I did also predict that Cody Deaner would be unsuccessful in this match, and unfortunately for me, well, unfortunately for him as well, I was correct with that prediction, although Alicia Edwards low blowing him, allowing Eddie Edwards to hit the Boston knee party. I go back to the last match, although AJ Francis didn't really interfere too much. But I go back to this running theme, especially when it comes to the system of interference. We just don't need it every single match the system have. It's, for me, it shows weakness on people that really don't need to be made weak. Especially like the Mooses, of this world. He doesn't need to have someone come out and low blow somebody every match or to distract someone every match for a win. It's just not needed, to be quite honest with you, and I don't like it. But what can I say? What can I say? That is what it is. Now, the match kind of ended, but that didn't stop the system, which was the rest of the system, shall we say, Moose, Brian Myers, and JDC, come out, and they were actually mocking Cody Deaner at the end of this. Brian Myers gets on the mic, thanks Eddie Edwards for finally retiring Cody Deaner, and Cody Deaner can start his new job at the gas station tomorrow, which was quite interesting. JDC was taunting him. Moose took a while to taunt him as well, and then he trashes Canada, which of course where they were. Now, that brought out Eric Young and the Northern Armory. Now, I was a little bit confused by this because obviously last time we saw Eric Young and Northern Armory, they were in a feud with Macklin for the International Championship. They had that bloody dog collar match. They had done loads of heinous things to Steve Macklin. Hometown heroes, though, in Canada. So the crowd loved Eric Young and Northern Armory, and that set up a 6-man tag team match straight away with the Northern Armory and the System. But again, more interference in this match. Alicia Edwards again gets involved. Again, it was a fun 6-man tag. Don't get me wrong. I am not criticizing the match quality of this. Again, match was very, very good. Eric Young and Moose in there. They're two of the, Eric Young and the majority of the system are the veterans of the sport. So you can imagine they put on a really good, I would say, kind of main event quality match. But the rest of the Northern Armory, very, very good as well. Sinner and Saint, I believe they're called. But this constant interference from Alicia Edwards is just, I don't know. I just get annoyed of it. It's just not needed in matches. Every match, anyway, that's for certain. But anyway, she did end up blasting kendo sticks on the floor. He passed it to Moose. And then the Brampton City Councilman gets involved, taking the kendo stick from Moose. And the head of the Brampton Board Trade gets a kendo stick and guards the ring as Young hits the power driver on Moose to pick up the victory. Now, that is an interesting one in itself because Eric Young pinning the X Division champion, does that give Eric Young the opportunity to go for gold in the future? There's an interesting prospect there, isn't it? Because, if you pin the champion, you're normally next in line for a shot at the gold. I don't know if that's happened in the television tapings that have just happened over in Canada, so we'll have to wait and see on that. But interesting times are afoot in TNA wrestling. That is certain. But a victory for the hometown heroes. The interference from Alicia Edwards doesn't pay off on this occasion, thank God. And we go forward to Impact this week, which of course you can see live on the TNA Plus app. Get it downloaded, get it subscribed, get the packages. If you get the normal package, you will see weekly TNA Impact. If you get the championship package, that will include all pay-per-views and TNA from the archives, including AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, Christopher Daniels, Hulk Hogan, Kurt Angle, Abyss, and so much more. We move on. Knockouts, tag team gold on the line, but stipulations are afoot in this match. Yes, if Spitfire were to win this match, they were to regain the Knockouts Championships, I think, for the third time in about 18 months. But if they lose, Spitfire would have to disband as a tag team. And it was quite interesting. They were wearing sort of do or die shirts, Spitfire, in this. I predicted in this match that I thought Spitfire would lose and have to disband in this. But again, I will say this: interference in this match. Iceman gets involved, as you can imagine. I just, again, the match itself was great. I enjoyed it. Iceman getting involved, for this, and then, of course, the newest member of the Elegances, Maggie Lee, gets involved as well, and all of that put together, the interference finally is too much for Spitfire, and the ratified air finish from Ash picks up the victory, and the Elegances retain, which means Spitfire has to disband as a team, which is a real shame on this. I just think, although I predicted it, and so this is going to sound proper, like, you said one thing and then you're going saying the other. Although I predicted Spitfire to lose, which they did, I think the Knockouts tag team division is lacking. Don't get me wrong, Knockouts division, fantastic, brilliant division. I'm not going to say that it isn't, but the Knockouts tag division has needs some breath of fresh air from TNA, and maybe get rid of Spitfire is maybe them doing that is going to bring in another team or two. Who knows? But we'll have to wait and see. But for now, Spitfire, Danny Luna, Jody Fritt will have to go out singly if they are to carry on. Obviously, Harley Hudson and Myla Grace coming in. They did have a match on Explosion this week. Who knows? Could they be a team going forward to go against the Elegances in action? But now you've got a third member of the Elegances as well. So there's now three of them. Maybe Maggie Lee, Maggie by Elegance, maybe, or M by Elegance. Who knows? Now we had a 8-person tag, I believe, in this one coming up next. It was Order 4, Ali, Tasha Stills, John Schuyler, sorry, and Jason Hotch. They were going against Indy Hartwell, the Rascals, and a mystery, or a TBA, I think it was. Now, that person was Raj Singh. Now, for those of you that don't know who Raj Singh is, he was Mustafa Ali's campaigner, Campaign Singh, if you remember rightly. A year or two ago, you can see his interview along with a lot of other TNA interviews on our playlist below. Go and check that out. So it was him that was the man which was quite incredible. And he come out, he was basically saying that Ali was full of shit. Okay, fair point, fair point. There was a really good. I mean, this match was great. Probably, I would go as far as saying this was probably match of the night. This match for me, Indy Hartwell coming in from WWE. She hit this really huge spot. She sort of hit a cutter on Steels onto the entire load of bodies that are in the ring because they're all getting into it. Crowd went crazy for it. I thought this was great. As I said, match of the night for me. Indy worked fantastically well in I think it's just a second match at TNA, but you can see what she's going to bring to the table in that knockouts division. That is without question. However, the end of the match, so Ali hit the 450 on Raj Singh and to pick up the victory for Order 4. But that doesn't stop there, and here's where it gets interesting. At the end of the match, once it's over, Mustafa Ali continues his attack on Raj Singh, and Tasha Steeles is pleading for him to stop. Now, while this is happening, Ali yanks her arm away, yanks his arm away, hitting Tasha Steeles, knocking her down. And the shock on the great hands and Tasha Steeles' face is unbelievable. But Ali doesn't look shocked. He looks unfazed and just walks away. Tom Hannifan on commentary, by the way, was great on that. But the Order 4 pick up the victory. Just a little bit, well, Alex, it was only Indy Hartwell's second match. So to have, I know she looked strong in it. She wasn't the one that she wasn't the one that took the fall. Just a little bit about that, just because it was only a second match. And I thought they were going to win, to be honest. I get Mustafa Ali's team are quite new as well. And there's obviously more to that coming up, I would imagine, with Tasha Steeles looking a little bit out of sorts with Ali's team. So perhaps this coming Thursday on TNA Plus, we'll get some more answers to that question. We'll see this coming week. Make sure you get that TNA Plus app. Tessa Blanchard against Ariana Grace in this. This was, well, there was a lot of dominance in this from Tessa Blanchard in this. Ariana Grace got a few moves in, don't get me wrong, but Tessa hits the buzzsaw and Magnum for the win. Pretty quick, this one. She taunts the crowd as well. Santino Marella come out to check on his daughter, which for those of you that don't know is. And Robert Stone comes out and says, big deal, they've got a show to go, hurry up and get out. Now, what was interesting in this one was apparently Tessa Blanchard picked up an injury during this, which has prevented her from wrestling on the first half of the tapings. They taped, I think, 2 TNA Impacts this week. I think they're going to be taping 2 TNA Impacts at some point, maybe this week or next week. And apparently she'll be cleared. She didn't compete at the fun show they done last night, the border show. So she was meant to, but she did not. She wasn't medically cleared. So hopefully she's not too serious with Tessa, especially because, we know where that's going with that. And Tessa Blanchard dominates the victory really over Ariana Grace. But hopefully injury isn't too serious. That moves us nicely on to the Knockouts Championship match. Masha Slamovich and Victoria Crawford, formerly known as Alicia Fox, comes out. And good match. Was it the best match? No. Got a little bit tedious through the middle part. The crowd wasn't really into it. There was a couple of boring chants in this. As I said, I thought it was good. I didn't think it was great. But again, I revert back to the earlier matches where I've said the word interference, and Robert Stone keeps getting involved. And again, this is where we've gone through 5 or 6 matches on the card here. And how many times have I said there's been interference? And this is where maybe things need to change for TNA a little bit. I'm all for listen, all interference isn't the worst thing in the world during a show, but we've gone through 5 matches here and 3 of them have had interference. 2 of them from the same person. So, just hey ho. Robert Stone gets involved a few times during this match, but this time Slamovich hits a Regal finisher and finish her off and gets the victory. She then basically offers an open challenge, right? She said she talks about a worthy challenger, and she's been seeing about there's a particular person that she's been looking at, and that's Lei Ying Lee, which was a real interest. That come out of the blue. She said that she's earned her respect, and she wants her to be next in line for the Knockouts Championship. That brung out Lei Ying Lee, and they had a little face off, and Lei Ying Lee also MMA victory last week as well, her first MMA victory. So congratulations for that. But Sheriff Stone wouldn't allow it. She says she's got to earn the title shot. Fair, I would say. Pretty fair. Wouldn't disagree with that. Really nice tribute to Sabu after that. Then followed the TNA Tag Team Championship match between the Nemeths, Ryan and Nick, against Matt Hardy and the UK's own Leon Slater. This was great. Love this match. Leon Slater was technically Jeff Hardy in this. He took the back end of a lot of the punishment in this fun match. But you know what Slater's like. He gets the crowd going. He gets that fans off his feet. But much like the usual Hardy match, when Jeff takes the brunt of the punishment, he took the brunt of the punishment. Finally made that big tag to Matt Hardy. He hit the ring. He was going crazy. The crowd exploded at this. Slater come back in as well. They had the usual hot tag moment where their faces are clearing out. The other heel comes in and the other one brings in the other one. There was a twist of fate leading into the plot twist from a Hardy, which hit the close 2 count. But in the end, the Nemeths still won to retain the tag team championships, which wasn't a big surprise. We kind of felt as if that was coming. Would TNA had put the title on Leon Slater with Matt when Jeff is back in a couple of weeks because he obviously couldn't fly to Canada. So it was probably never going to happen, but still a fun and exciting TNA tag team championship match. However, we'll go to backstage and Santino and Ariana want a father-daughter tag match against Stone and Tessa Blanchard. Sure about that, guys? And Santino said he vows to make it happen. And he also vows to make Stone pay on Impact with the Cobra. Robert Stone wouldn't want to be you, pal. That's for sure. Main event time on Under Siege, Joe Hendry and Elijah, Trick Williams and Frankie Kazarian. Now, of course, this was a prologue to NXT Battleground where Joe Hendry was defending the NXT Championship against Trick Williams. And again, really good tag match. Really, really enjoyed this one. Good main event, solid main event, I would say. Elijah's always looking good in this as well. And, one wonders what's in his future as well. But yeah, really thoroughly enjoyed tag match. Good back and forth one as well, to be honest, on this. Yeah, I thought this was, I had good expectations of it, but I thought it was actually better than I expected it to be, which was never a problem when something's better than what you think it's going to be, is it? But Trick, at the end of this match, Trick accidentally hit Kazarian with his trick shot finisher as Hendry then knocks Trick Williams to the floor, then hoists Kazarian up for the standing ovation and pick up the victory as then Trick and Joe Hendry have a stare down to end that show. Now let's move on to Battleground very, very quickly. I mentioned there two things I mentioned. One was Mike Santana. He showed up at Battleground. He's got a match this week on NXT. So he's taken 16 years, as he said, but he's in the WWE ring this coming Tuesday on NXT. Now, the main event of Battleground saw Joe Hendry battle Trick Williams for the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. And this is where the landscape of TNA has changed. Trick Williams defeats Joe Hendry to become TNA World Heavyweight Champion in front of the TNA president sitting at ringside. What on earth is going on here on TNA Wrestling? We have now got an NXT guy with the TNA World Championship. Now, this could set up what I thought we were going to set up. Maybe Santana will take it off of Trick because Santana's going to be at NXT this coming Tuesday for a match. Is he going to be next in line? But guys, Joe Hendry no longer TNA World Heavyweight Champion. That gives you any more reason to watch TNA this week, and to download that TNA Plus app, get it downloaded, get it subscribed to see what the fallout will be this coming Thursday to the news that we have a new TNA World Heavyweight Champion in Trick Williams. With that being said, you can follow us at HTT Buckle on X, HTT Buckle on YouTube, Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast on all other social media outlets. We'll be back a bit later on today with the review of Double or Nothing. But until then, everybody, cross the line, stay safe.